Right, welcome to Finn versus History, the show for people who like history but don't care what actually happened. I'm here, as ever, with Horatio Gould.
Hello.
And today we're talking about the English Civil War.
Yeah.
Why have we chosen the English Civil War?
Well, I think it's the only war fought where both sides are goodies,
Yes.
right?
And losers.
Yeah, and
Both massive losers.
yeah. I think it's kind of like a historian's history topic because it is on the surface it is quite impenetrable and quite dull.
Oh, it's fucking boring. So much of it. In preparation for this, I listened to some real dry stuff about religious sects.
Yeah.
But it's not even religious. It's all Christianity.
Yeah. It's what I love about this one is it's really quite subtle differences.
Yes.
And it's a lot of bloodshed over quite minor differences.
So much bloodshed. I heard that apparently, as a proportion of the population, more people died in the English Civil War proportionately than in World War I and World War II put together.
Yeah, but it's double points, isn't it?
It's your own team, isn't
it?
Yeah, so
exactly.
They count more.
Yeah.
But also, for so many people to die, and then for the end of it, they go, "Oh, fuck it. Sorry about that. Sorry, let's just go back. Let's forget. Sorry about it. Sorry, we did that. Let's go back to what we did."
What I've realised from researching this episode, how this podcast is going to go, is that we're going to have to listen to the most boring cunts in the world.
Yes.
And misremember those podcasts to make
in order to make it less boring for people listening to this.
So we're very much on the coalface.
Yeah, of some real dry stuff. So we both did history degrees.
I didn't do a history degree.
Didn't you?
No, which is kind of worse in a way.
Shit. What? So hang on, how do you know?
I did a film degree.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
So this is genuinely a hobby for you.
Yeah, I'm a hobbyist.
Oh God.
I'm in the shed.
Right.
Painting Spitfires.
So if I'd done a bird watching degree, then we'd be doing a podcast.
Yeah,
Finn versus bird watching.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I did a history degree, but at one point, I think it was my final year, I did a history on China sort of pre-Mao, China. And I did it just because I fancied a girl on the course.
Was she Chinese?
No.
God, no.
Bristol.
Right.
Bristol Uni.
Minty.
She was white as sand. Minty or Binty, I forget what her name was. Mint Bin. Anyway, so I fancied her. She didn't know that because I didn't tell her.
Yes.
I just sort of sat there and kept it to myself. That's my tactic. And I failed the exam. But in the exam, I realised that I'd just been so bored with because it's not even about. It wasn't like Mao. It wasn't even like Ming.
Yeah.
It was just trade.
Fine.
Chinese trade.
Yeah.
And I basically made up dates and Chinese names.
That's not like you.
I know.
Really?
I just put hyphens in between.
That's so different to what you do now.
Dingbat Low in 1840.
That's like a J.K. Rowling character.
Dingbat Low. Yeah, she's in the fourth book. Harry Potter fingers Dingbat Low, I think.
Yeah, sometimes with like history in another country where none of the events really affect you, it does just become Lord of the Rings, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just like you're learning about trading between two states.
You mean Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I do.
You know what?
That is what I meant.
Lord of the Rings. Anyway, so
part of the reason we chose English Civil War, by the way, is we wanted to get the first episode out without any opportunity of doing racist accents. Like this is sort of, but you've already broken that.
I've broken that. It's not even been 4 minutes, and I've broken that.
It feels like quite a safe zone to talk
so
about.
we need to establish, because we can only assume that there are people watching this are absolute dum-dums.
Yeah.
So the English Civil War, we're talking mid-17th century.
1600.
1640s, 50s. So Shakespeare has been and gone.
Been and gone. The Tudors have been and gone.
Shakespeare's dead. AIDS, nowhere near. AIDS is some way off. So for people who are like, when was the English Civil War? It was post-Shakespeare, pre-AIDS.
It was pre-air fryer as well.
Pre-air fryer. Shakespeare did not die of AIDS.
Yeah.
There's very few things I know about the English Civil War, but I can say with almost certainty. Although there's
you don't know that he didn't
I don't
die.
know. I don't know.
Exactly. You lost confidence in that.
I did. As I was saying that, I went, look, do you know what?
Sounds like he died of AIDS.
There's that theory that Shakespeare was actually several playwrights.
Yeah.
But what if the several playwrights were all men fucking him and that's how he died? He's died of AIDS.
It's such a funny theory that. It's just there's no way this guy who's not a gentleman could have written all those plays.
Yeah, there's no way. Anyway, so we're talking about the 16... Yeah, well, let's start. I guess that any discussion about the Civil War needs to start with Charles I and the concept on the other sort of side of Puritanism.
Yeah. Well, it felt like Protestantism was pretty new in this country, and they're still trying to work it out. But it seems like
hang on, let's go back.
Yeah.
So Kings of England.
Yeah.
You've got Henry VIII.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who that is.
He wanted to have a son.
The Tudor Lizzo.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was gout positive.
Yeah.
On his chariots, he was campaigning for not paying for an extra seat on the chariot.
He wanted to leave his wife so bad he invented divorce.
Yes.
Which I think would make me feel quite bad.
As a woman.
Yeah. If my husband hated me so much that he invented divorce, that would make me...
The concept of finality of a marriage, of a relationship.
I mean, that's a breakup.
And then, but then the next one, he hated so much that he went, well, I'm not just going to divorce, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. Well, he learned how long the bureaucracy of divorce.
Well, he learned that if you don't have a prenup, divorce just...
Yeah, exactly. So
you need to kill him. In many ways, he was sort of an early OJ, allegedly.
I'd love to hear Henry VIII's advice if someone's going through marriage troubles. His fourth wife.
Yeah.
In a bar, like him sidling up to you.
Just kill him, mate. Just kill him.
Tell me, I've been through all the rigmarole. No. I've let him live. It's just easier if you kill him.
These lawyers, man, they clean you out. Just lob her.
But this is not about the Tudors. It's about the English Civil War.
So you have Henry VIII, who basically starts the Reformation, which essentially makes England Protestant because he wanted to fuck another woman.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason why we are a Protestant country is because he wants to fuck someone else.
The reason that we don't nap in the day and that we have a work ethic is because a fat guy 500 years ago wanted to fuck someone else. That's why. Yeah. That's why we're all sad but don't tell anyone.
And what I love about it is it was actually because he wanted a son and she wasn't giving him a son. He made us Protestant just so he could get a son. Yeah. And then the son died almost immediately of a cold, which is awesome.
Of a cold?
Yeah. And the sickness. I love it because no one's tried harder to get a son than him.
He was on the throne for like
15 minutes.
Months, 15 minutes, sneezed, dead.
But it's so like no one wanted a son more than Henry VIII.
Yeah.
Gets him, and he just goes, "Achoo, I'm dead."
Right. So then you have Mary, who's Catholic, and I guess the central tension that then it leads to the Civil War.
She feels very Mediterranean to me.
Yes. Well, we'll get into the Mediterranean women are a big problem in this country still. Mediterranean women, I'd say they caused the English Civil War.
So would I.
They cause all sorts of problems for men like us, Mediterranean women. So Mary, she's Catholic. She then hates Prots. I think she burns the Prots. So, but Puritanism starts to come in basically after Henry VIII, because there's this idea that, and I will stress this is very boring, and I know this. There's this idea that Protestantism isn't Protestant enough, and that it's still too Catholic, and by that they mean it's still too pretty, and there's still too much stuff on the walls, and there's robes. I think a big part of it was the clothes. Yeah. Well, sort of transphobes are Puritans.
Well,
That bloke's in a dress. That's not holy.
Well, there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but it's like it was sort of like, because it was new, people were still working out what it was. It turned into a boring off with who could be the most boring cunts in the world. Yeah. It was sort of like a test of your piety with how little fun you could have.
Yeah. Well, no, but the Catholics were like, they were fun.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why the Puritanism is about.
Oh, I see. Puritanism.
And then there's Anglicanism, which is like a blend between the two.
This is really... Before I started researching this, I had no idea what any of those Anglican, Presbyterian...
Well, a lot of the English Civil War is... The internal things is like, how ugly should we make churches? I think
it's essentially a book group squabble that's got out of hand. Yeah. So there's something about the robes, and then anyway, fast forward, you have Elizabeth I, who kind of settles down a bit. Then she dies without an heir. And then you get the Scottish King, James I, King James Bible. Yeah. He goes, and then we get to the guy that really...
His fixation was witches, so that's why Shakespeare wrote Macbeth. Because he knew James just loved witch stories and stuff. So he was just like tizzed out on witches.
Which Shakespeare?
The actual Shakespeare, because he was alive during...
But Shakespeare was 12 guys with AIDS.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I guess it's by council.
It was Harvey Milk. So Elizabeth I dies without an heir. And then we get James I. Then we get Charles I, who's sort of the central character in this story. Yeah. Now, producer Charlie, if you could get a photo up of Charles I. Charles I is flamboyant, and the first thing, 1625, when our timeline begins, he marries a spicy Latina Catholic.
It's an easy road to go down, but it's always going to have problems.
Now,
what
listen,
do you expect?
She's French.
Okay.
We've all had a mate who's had a French girlfriend and gone a bit weird. she's got a fringe. Yeah. She smokes rollies.
Look, at this point, I empathise with him.
Hey?
Like, it's not his fault. Like, you know.
I mean, the guy. I mean, you look at that guy, you think he's got a French girlfriend who's a bit annoying. That guy. You probably went to film school with that guy. He's got a I mean, he's kind of a pirate. It's a kind of pirate hipster.
Russell Brand sort of vibe.
Very Russell Brand. Yeah, I guess maybe that's the problem, isn't it? This is Russell Brand pre-Rumble when he was getting away with it.
What's funny about the English, so I think a civil war teaches you a lot about a country, no matter whichever country's it in. Yeah. It shows kind of the truth of this country. And no one really cares about the English Civil War globally. It's not like the French Revolution or the American Civil War because it achieved
absolutely nothing.
But also it's because like it's incredibly radical. It's the first time that they've got rid of a monarchy ever.
Yes, yeah,
ever. So that should be incredibly radical, right? Yeah. But it's kind of like no one really wanted to do it. Just Charles was such a cunt consistently. It became inevitable, and we went back on it almost immediately.
In terms of like a line of progress, like the Russian Revolution, things happen, the country changes. You can argue whether it's better or worse. You can't if it's for worse, but with the British with Civil War, this happened. Things got worse. They cut a head off. They go, "Oh, sorry about that," and it's a circle.
Well, it feels like it's radical in the way that like an English guy stumbles into Berghain and is just very uncomfortable and is constantly asking his German friends, "When can I leave?" You know?
but he then does get fisted several times, and he leaves. And he goes, "Let's never speak about that again. Never speak about that again."
Yeah, the whole war did feel like it's sort of like a handshake that got out of hand.
Yes,
it was a game of bridge that. Took a left turn and we'll never speak of it again.
But it's also an interesting topic for this first episode of this show because I'm much more I love nothing more than 19th century imperial history. And you're far more what I would deem mystical.
Sure.
You're
what? Pre 1700s?
It's terrifying. Terrifying.
Yeah, I'm like into the occult.
Yeah. I'm the Raj. I'm Islander O'Hara. I'm Redcoats. That's me. Sharp. I love all that. That onwards. Industrial warfare. Ostrich feathers.
Yeah.
I'm
a guy wearing a loincloth pulling a rock.
I don't like any of this. So anyway, Charles I ascends to the throne, and something about his sort of foppish character. He's very.
He's a dandy.
He's Russell Brand.
Yeah.
He's Russell Brand. He's all right. I'll go watch a play. He then gets into basically everything he does is sort of is pretty mad. He gets into a war with France.
Yep.
Gets into debt. And the early tension is with Parliament. Mm-hmm. So I don't know when does Parliament start? When do we have a Parliament?
Parliament, I think it was the first Parliament was like 1300s, I think, and it was the first time anyone had really done that.
Yeah.
And so like in English history, we'd kind of established that Parliament had a lot of rights, and what was very popular at the time was the idea of personal rule, which is the divine right of kings.
Absolute monarchy. Yeah.
Basically, the only person who's my boss is God.
Yeah.
The only person I'll listen to.
Mm-hmm.
So he got very high on that and just like didn't think you need to speak to Parliament at all.
So there's whole, you need to Parliament to sign off on wars, essentially. And so he was
like a trustafarian though. He was
He's
that was kind of like he constantly wanting money. He didn't want to explain where he was going.
He wants to just hang out with his French girlfriend.
Exactly.
Watching Jules Jim. And then basically at some point, what is it? He raises funds through taxes, which are very unpopular.
And he opposes Catholic-leaning reforms, which could be as much as putting a coloured cloth on a table.
Yes.
Right? In this era,
that's not beige. That's too garish.
Yeah.
In my head, almost the Puritans, the Protestants are like they're sort of autistic, and they're overstimulated by anything that's like purple or.
Yeah. but this is where
they walk into a church and it's too much.
Different levels of it. It breaks off into so many different. There's like the Puritans are the people who eventually end up in power, but that was just a tiny, small minority. It was like woke people on Twitter.
Yeah,
the Puritans. Yeah. They're basically blue-haired they/thems, right?
Yeah.
Who had these really strict rules. They didn't want any fun.
They wear all black. Yeah, so they're gender neutral. Yeah.
And also, most of the country didn't agree with them at all. They just ended up being...
They're like, those people are pretty weird. What do you mean they? There's one of you. The country's essentially boomer dads.
Yeah.
And they've
Why are they in every advert?
What do you mean? What do you mean you've killed the king? I liked him. This country's gone mad.
Yeah. And what I also love about the English Civil War as well, compared to the other civil wars, is... It's like American Civil War, right? The North versus the South.
Spicy.
It was a war where Southerners were like, we want to pay black people nothing to work on plantations. And the North wanted to pay black people a tiny bit to work in factories.
Yes.
That was sort of the... Yeah. But people believed in it, right? That was like a clash of values.
Yeah.
Here, no one had any idea what was going on at any point.
No.
Everyone in the English Civil War was like the hobbits in the Shire.
Yeah.
They're
well, at this point, we're bog people, essentially.
They're tending to their turnips, asked about it. I don't bloody know. Everyone who's in charge is a bloody bastard to me. They have no idea what's going on. Yeah. I mean, I don't think a lot of people who are fighting in it had any idea what's going on because it's about such small differences.
No. I mean,
this wasn't the people raising up and getting rid of the king.
No.
This was a group of other white gentlemen saying, well, can you respect us a little bit more within...
It's a bunch of they-thems who raise a sort of militant army and then try and cancel Russell Brand.
Yeah, that's it. That's
what's happening. So there's some point where Charles wants to go to war with Scotland. Yeah. Even though he is King of Scotland.
Yeah.
And so he raises armies from England and Scotland. Mm-hmm. But as King of Scotland, he has to pay both armies.
Yeah.
So he's essentially putting both countries into debt to fight a war with himself.
Yeah.
That he manages to lose on both counts. And then everyone's being taxed to fuck. So it's sort of like...
it didn't go to plan.
Sorry about that. It's sort of Liz Truss levels of economic incompetence.
Yeah.
But presented by Russell Brand.
But once again, the Scottish War was over the colour of cloth. This is once again minute differences in the wording.
So the Scots are Presbyterian, which is my heritage.
Which I have no idea. What is it? You do it in an accent? Do you wear a kilt when you read out the Bible?
No, it's wincing.
Like what...
Presbyterian work ethic is the most extreme of anyone.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Well, more than Heinz Fein and Kleinian.
Well, the thing is, you've got the German Heinz Fein, but the Scots are like, they're wincing. Yeah. It's peaty whiskey. Sure. It's horrible. It's disgusting. Does he drink that for fun?
There's a bleakness,
There's pleasure in this water. The water. They go on about their water. Yeah. How it's taste the water.
Yeah.
So... Anyway, so the Scots are pretty hardcore Puritans.
But do you know any distinguishable difference from the Presbyterian Church and the Church of England? Is there anything noticeable apart from the fact that...
The Presbyterian cakes are much harder.
Fine, okay.
They're like rocks.
This is why this topic isn't really that big worldwide, because it's so impenetrable.
It's so boring. It's the perfect first episode. The most boring war.
Yeah.
So anyway,
the Scottish wanted to keep their cakes hard, as opposed to slightly hard.
English wanted some bubbles in them. So listen, fucking hell, I don't know. At one point, Charles tries to get Parliament to sign off on one of his mad things, and then Parliament says no, and at this point. Because Parliament's just been like, you're just getting a bit Catholic.
It's a bit much.
Like all this,
This girlfriend.
This
used to be fun.
Used to be fun. And this, Henrietta. Oh God, he's brought Henrietta again. I just want to come around and have some cans and play beer pong. Henrietta says that beer pong's actually symbolic of the patriarch. Fuck Charles.
It's like Boris Johnson's wife. It was very Carrie.
It's genuinely, No, it is. Carrie Simmons. Henrietta's Instagram is a disgrace.
Yeah. Exactly, and now he's wearing beads.
Yeah,
he's got he's like Russell Brand. He's doing ice baths in the garden.
Yeah, he's got a Free Palestine badge. Yeah, and he's like, all right, fuck it.
Yeah, like it used to be Shagger of the Year in the Sun.
Yeah. What happened? Charles, what happened? Charles. Anyway, tensions escalate 1642. Again, this is very much nothing, nowhere near AIDS.
Yeah.
AIDS is not a part of the story. Yeah. I don't know why I keep mentioning it.
No one's even considered the idea of an air fryer at this stage.
It
hasn't even crossed their mind.
No. There's not even frying pans, I don't think.
Exactly.
I think it's pots.
They couldn't be. No one's even thought of it by accident.
I think people mainly eat. What are people eating? Stews mainly.
Potatoes and tomatoes might have just arrived.
Tomatoes haven't arrived.
No, they're not there yet.
This is pre-tomato.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, it's chucking whatever's nearest into a pot and boiling it.
It's a sheep's head in a pot with some water. Put a potato in it, see what happens.
Yeah.
So Charles in 1642 is trying to get funding from Parliament or Parliament to sign off on some war. I don't know which one and who cares.
Yeah.
So he starts trying to arrest his MPs,
which is quite iconic. I think there's something quite funny about
fuck this. You're going to jail.
Well, because it's more like it's sort of like an unspoken rule where we're all going to dress you up as the king and say. You're
leader.
But then when he actually starts pressing it, it's like, well,
they can't do that.
We can't really do that. You can't just say, well, no, how about then I fucking arrest you?
Yeah, well, no. Hang on. Don't take it that seriously.
God seize him.
So there's a point where he arrives to Parliament with some guards to try and arrest 5 MPs.
Yep.
They say no, and then war begins because they say no.
Yeah.
So he goes, "Wow, fuck," and then he just runs away. And I think he goes north. He goes north.
Yes.
So he goes to York
because the strongholds for the Royalists. So the stronghold for the Parliamentarians was London and the southeast, sort of the blue Thatcherite belt.
The blue wall is Royalists. It's Parliamentarian.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of always been the stronghold because that's where all the radical ideas are coming.
That's why if you make a joke about Princess Diana in Kent, they don't. They're fucking. She was England's rose.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of people. They're the people who are queuing up. Yeah.
They go to the Chelsea Garden Show.
Yeah.
Chelsea Flowers Show. There's all that kind of like smiling as you drive by, but there's a seething anger underneath.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're parliamentarians.
Yes, they're parliamentarians. The worst comedy crowds in the world. That's our region. The kind of Kent Sussex belt.
Awful.
And then the Royalists actually have a lot more power in like Wales, some of it in Scotland and the North, because the parliamentarians are quite distinctively English, I feel, and the Crown is British at this stage. There's a bit of that dynamic going on.
Yeah, and what I also love about this war is how when the battles begin, they're always in like the sort of the tamest bits of the country, like Shropshire. Shropshire.
Yeah, it's like
There's been a massacre in Shropshire.
It's a bleak tour if you look. If it was if it was a comedy tour of these places, that is a bleak run.
Warwickshire, Shropshire, Berwick. Yeah. So we should probably also introduce the other character in this story, because the Civil War has begun. Yeah. But we don't know really who the parliamentarians are or what they want. They think Charles. They don't like Charles I's new French girlfriend. Yeah. He's too Catholic. But like you say, there's an extremist element that most people aren't buying into. Yeah. But the parliamentarians are as a bloc. They're quite puritanical. Yeah. And their leader is a divisive figure, Oliver Cromwell.
Well, he becomes their leader within the bowels because he does.
But he's an MP who gets elected in 1628, I think. Can you get a photo of Cromwell up, Charlie? He's just an MP in East Anglia. Again, the most. This is like just the most.
The tamest.
It's not even like a civil war. It's the most boring counties in England.
And also, the reason why Cromwell rises to the top is he wins the boring off. Yeah, like he is the most boring.
He's the most boring guy.
Yeah, his views are the most boring possible. Yeah, no one's more extreme or radical in their boringness than Oliver Cromwell.
I don't think we should have turkey at Christmas. I think we should have Christmas.
Yeah, it's just
I mean, look at that guy. Fucking hell. I've seen that guy not laugh on quite a lot of front rows.
Exactly, and his famous quote for this painting is "Paint me warts and all," right? Which is like make me boring. Did you know about warts?
No,
and all?
I didn't. Is that?
Do you know the term warts and all comes from Cromwell?
Does it?
So when this painting was being painted, they said, "Do you want me to take out? Do you want me to make it look better? Do you want me to touch it up? Basically, do you want me to put you through face? No. Put me warts and all. Make me as ugly and boring as possible.
Make me more warty. Want a bigger warts." He's got a shit lid.
Yeah.
He looks like someone who was at one point trying to be Russell Brand.
Yeah.
But then their hair started falling out.
So they had to take a hard pivot into music teacher.
It's really boring.
Yeah.
What's that? You've just
Is
brought
that
up
a cast
Charlie.
of his head?
That's a cast of his face.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Boring even in death.
Yeah. So Roundheads versus Cavaliers is the two sides, right?
Yes. Both are slurs.
Yep.
Cavalier is a slur for the Royalists.
Yeah.
Foppish, foreign.
Yeah.
Gay, essentially.
Yeah.
Cavalier is a gay man. Gay Spaniards.
It's foppish gents. They're kind of, it's an old boys club.
Ooh.
It's a lot of, it's people who care about their tailoring. They talk about poetry. And it's verse Roundheads.
I'm a Roundhead.
Yeah. Who are these squat little the parliamentarian force who they don't have much humour, these guys.
No, there's several theories as to why Roundhead is a term.
Yeah.
One of them is that traitors to the crown would have their ears cut, trimmed, so that you'd still have ear holes, but you'd have none of this.
So can you hear stuff?
Yes, because you still have the hole in your head is still there.
Yeah, but I don't think you need the acoustics of the ear, right? Otherwise, what's the point of the ear?
I don't think you need the ear.
Charlie?
Can you Google if you need your ear?
Can you? If you've got a hole, just two holes in the side.
Well, that's what these people. Are you saying that the Roundheads were deaf?
Well, some of them were. The ones who were Roundheads. That's why their work ethic was so good.
Are you saying the Civil War is essentially between gays and deaf people?
I am, yeah.
Wow,
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Who knew? So
when you were studying this for the first time,
fuck off AI overview. Yes, you need your ears for hearing and balance. Balance, that's a point. So the Roundheads were the Roundheads were like those things outside of car dealerships,
they're
just
like
flopping about.
Pins,
All you had to do was knock the first one over, and they'd all. That's why the Royalists win the first battle in Powick Bridge.
Christ.
Because they just pushed the first one over and they all.
Yeah, there's probably a nice pub there, but not much else. Powick Bridge.
It's probably like a sort of northern lesbian community. Powick Bridge. So Charlie, find out if you need the actual ears.
Yeah, more importantly,
the flop. What do you call? So you've got ear hole, canal, hole, and then you've got all this stuff.
Yeah.
Lobes.
In my head, it goes. You speak, and then it bounces around like a pinball in the ear, and then it goes in, and that's what makes it sound.
No.
So I think you'll still hear a ringing if you don't have the flappy bit.
No, the sound goes in. Here you go.
No,
you don't need your earlobes to hear.
Earlobes. Yeah, obviously not these.
Yeah.
But is this an earlobe?
It's an erogenous zone. Well, that makes sense, actually, because the Roundheads, they're not into any of that. They're anti-sex.
Well, they feel like eunuchs, the Roundheads. They're kind of like,
They're like woke eunuchs.
Yeah. Sexless, asexuals.
Asexuals, that's who they are. They're asexuals.
Just, some of the worst people to run into at a dinner party.
Here you go. You need your outer ear to hear, because it's the first part of the ear that sound waves encounter.
It's like a net.
But you can still hear noises.
Yeah, you'd hear like a...
No, I think you'd hear words.
What does that mean then?
What? You need your outer ear to hear.
Yeah.
But it's just the first part of the ear. Go on, Charlie.
I think it catches the sound. So
that's what I've been saying.
The cave of your ear catches the sound and kind of interprets it, rather than it just being kind of
straight up, straight into the hole.
Into concrete. Yeah.
But that's like saying you need arse cheeks to do anal.
Well, that's an interesting question. God, I didn't know I'd be speechless this early into the podcast.
It's the first time that the juxtaposition between what I'm saying and the set has really struck me. He went, well, that's interesting. Well, that is interesting. It's the idea of an 80s academic going, well, you don't need arse cheeks to know. Well, that is interesting. That is an interesting supposition.
So when you first learned about English Civil War, when you were a child...
No.
Right.
Charlie, Google if you need arse cheeks to do anal. You're on Pete's laptop, I think, or you're on your laptop. You've Googled it. You've Googled that before, I'm sure. Do you need your arse cheeks to do anal?
Well, I guess it depends what kind of... It depends what school of thought you subscribe to.
Well, I guess that's the thing about academia, is it? There's two theories.
Is it the whole thing? Right.
But this is... Okay, you get us back on track. I'll just...
So when you were
Good
first
Lord.
hearing
Good
about
Lord. Just get rid of that, Charlie. Go back. I'm scared. Thank you.
So when you were first learning about the English Civil War as a boy, do you learn about it at school?
We at some point, but it was pretty much all I remember is the king got his head cut off, Cavalier Roundheads. Like, it's almost a heroic victory for democracy is how it's told. But it's not that at all, because as you say, no one knew absolutely what was happening.
No, what was going on. It was by accident the most radical thing that had happened to that point.
It was a military coup by woke people.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
But when you were first hearing about the Cavaliers and the Roundheads, when that story was being told, who did you naturally side with?
Well, in my head, Cavalier was the Cavalier Spaniel.
Okay.
And the Roundhead was like a, horrible shit dog. Like a bulldog. Yeah. So I went Cavalier.
Really? I've sided with the Roundheads.
Well, you are a Roundhead.
because of my
in my head, the round
well, you've got a tiny head, actually, famously. Yes. So the Roundhead probably, the focus on the head probably didn't appeal to you at all.
I tried to just move past that. I was like, I like dogs. I like dogs.
With my giant head.
Finally, I'm a hero.
But yeah, naturally for some reason, because with all these things, I don't know, you end up just picking a side in your head, and I just found myself supporting the Roundheads.
I just like the idea of Cavalier, but also Cavalier. Here we go. So this is the other thing about the English Civil War is that it is the when autistic 40-year-old. I've said this many times. There's no one more autistic than a 50-year-old British man.
Yep.
When they do battle reenactments, in my head they are reenacting the Civil War.
It's true. Why is this one? Because I guess it's on English soil, so you can do all the
English soil. Yeah. It's there are muskets and there's horses and there's dogs. There's lots of dogs.
Yeah,
but there's swords.
Yeah, it's sort of like
there's cavalry.
In the same way, Doctor Who encapsulates a certain type of British autism. The English Civil War also does that. It's kind of like it's pure British autism. There's no other reading of it because World War II. There's a lot of other stuff going on as well.
There's lots of other stuff going on.
But here, it's only that.
I think it's fair to say that you would call the English Civil War the autistic Civil War.
Yeah.
In that it's too...
Well, I think the Roundheads are autistic and the Cavaliers are neurotypical, right? That's the kind of vibe you get.
Do you think?
These guys are flamboyant. They're wearing, big poofy shirts.
Yeah. And they're too much for the autistic Roundheads.
But yeah, the battle reenactments, it's because you can play both sides.
But we should talk about the violence.
Yeah.
It's happening in the tamest counties possible, Shropshire, Warwickshire.
Yeah.
There are swords, there are guns, there are horses. But Cromwell, who has never fought at all, he's just an MP.
Yeah.
It's like a local councillor, essentially.
Yes.
And then they give him a sword and a horse.
It turns out he's an absolute monster.
Fucking boss man. And he is shredding, absolutely shredding Cavaliers. He's cutting their heads off. There's a story about one battle where basically he gets knocked off quite early by one of the gay guys, Cavaliers. And
it's gays versus autistic.
It's gays versus autistic.
It's Remain Leave, isn't it?
It's Remain Leave. It's gay versus disabled. It's Brexit. So so Cromwell, because this is still in the era where the leader would charge first.
Yes.
Which is a military tactic is fucking mad.
Yeah.
That's like Hitler and Churchill.
It's coming to the end of that, right?
Hitler and Churchill on horses meeting in France. And then one of them shoots the other one and that's it.
Yeah. Churchill dies of a heart attack just before he reaches
getting on the horse. Anyway, so but Cromwell falls off his horse or gets knocked off his horse by one of the gay guys, and then what should happen then is that he should be impaled by the lance or whatever. But all his little Roundhead, they all follow him and they form a thing around him and they fight off and then they resist, which that didn't happen. Normally it was like the leader gets knocked off and they go, oh fuck, we've lost him.
Really?
Yeah, but they loved him so much. He was so hardcore.
Yeah.
And I think that's because they're like full on.
Well, he's their lead. He's their icon.
They do believe in the puritanical cause. These guys, they are fucking boring.
But that's what makes them.
He's the most boring one of all. We can't let him die. That's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
So anyway,
but these boring guys, boring English guys, as history proves, is a terrifying foe. Like
yes.
Sexless English guys who are, getting to bed early are some of the most devastating forces to face in the world.
Yeah,
Agincourt was the same. That those guys, the French guys, were all fucking each other, and the English were like praying before going to battle. That's one of the most terrifying people to come up against.
Yeah. Because there's no element of fun at all. They will not be distracted from. They're
literally the fun police.
Yes, they are the fun police. Yeah. Anyway, Parliament. It's going on a bit, right? Mm-hmm. We're getting into 1644, and there's still all the battles are just kind of like draws. Mm-hmm. No one has the superiority to beat the other one.
Occasionally, a hobbit in fucking Carlisle will look out his window and be like, "I don't fucking."
Who are they? Anyway, the 1645, the New Model Army is founded.
Now, is the New Model Army the first army of its kind, the first professional army?
Well, what they did is they got rid of all the commanders that weren't English.
Okay.
And so they had Welsh, Scottish, and they basically went, these guys are too fun. Get rid of these cunts. Put some real boring stamp collecting hedge trimmers in, and we will boss this.
Yeah.
So Cromwell then rises to quite high up in that. There's a guy called, who's the other guy? There's another, Fairfax.
Yes.
So Cromwell defeats the Royalists at Naseby.
Yeah.
1645.
So this is a brutal army. This one just.
They're just bossing it.
Yeah.
They're just they're trained, they're professional, they're mercenaries.
Yeah.
But they're also they're kind of like jihadis. They really believe that they're boring jihadis.
Yeah.
They wouldn't fly a plane into a building because that's too exciting. They would they just sort of push off a bridge or something. I don't know what they do.
They're screaming Allahu Akbar, they're
quietly in a soundproof room. So Charles surrenders to the Scots in 1646. The Scots aren't really in. I don't know what they're doing.
I don't really know.
I think at one point they come in and. Oh, I don't care.
It's really hard to know what's going on and who. Both sides don't care that much, apart from Cromwell and his boring ultras.
Yeah.
Not many people seem to really be that passionate about what's going on, or not even know who's on.
No one knows at the time what's going on. They weren't calling it a civil war. They were just calling it. This is a bit weird, isn't it? What's going on here? But anyway, the first civil war.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about the civil war, really we're talking about three wars.
Yes.
The first one ends 1646.
Yeah.
Charles surrenders to the Scots. The Scots hand him over to Parliament.
Yeah.
He's like hostage. I think he goes to the Isle of Wight or something.
Yeah. He goes on holiday.
He just goes, oh, fuck it.
He goes on a boring boating holiday to the Isle of Wight.
There's then the interbellum.
Yeah, what is the interbellum?
Now, I thought that was a part of a woman's anatomy.
I thought it was a woman's gooch.
Yes, they're not the female gooch. Charlie, what do you call the female gooch?
Interbellum.
I have no idea.
Negotiate this lead attention.
Can you Google it? Fucking hell. Christ. I'm not asking you what it's called. The interbellum is it's here we go.
The perineum.
Perineum, that's it.
Yeah. So not to be confused with the perineum.
In American slang, the perineum is also known as the taint. That's disgusting.
Yes.
I think that's probably one of the worst anatomical drawings I've ever seen.
I don't think
really full on.
Right, we're talking about the English Civil War, and now we're looking at a woman's taint. Anyway, the taint of the English Civil War is happening here, right?
Yes.
This period.
Yes.
This is the taint.
Yeah. So
have you just gone through the shaft and balls?
Yeah.
And now we're in the taint.
And we're waiting to get to the arse.
Also.
Which, as we've established, you do not need cheeks to get to.
Yeah.
So the interbellum is the bit in between the... interbellum means it's Latin for interwar. So... this is because the Civil War is really several wars, and at this point, Parliament has won the first one, but they
keep giving Charles opportunities to not be a cunt.
Yeah,
because also they are all English, and they also do kind of still want to have a king. They just keep going like, right, well, I know you've been a bit of a prick. We've beaten you a lot.
Yeah.
We'll forgive you. You go back on the throne. Just promise not to be a prick.
Don't be a prick. Promise?
Nah.
Double promise?
Nah.
Okay. Okay then. Immediately.
Arrest him now.
Yeah. Something happens. Oh yeah. A Scottish invasion happens. 1648.
Mm-hmm.
Which sparks another civil war, which Cromwell just fucking dominate, like within months.
He's gone super Sagan.
He's cooking.
Yeah.
And when Cromwell cooks, people get fried. And then the royalists are like, let him cook. And Cromwell's just like, what? Swords. Boring. Everything needs to be more boring. It's funny how life must have been incredibly exciting in order to make it like
that boring.
War must be so exciting for him. Cavalry leader in charge of the hottest cavalry at that point.
Was he?
And the
court
and the flag.
Like,
the flag is
fun.
The flag is beige.
Yeah.
The standard is beige. Like is this? The standard is this.
I don't know. Was he feeling sinful for having this much fun? You know.
Well, that's an interesting question.
You know, is he like we just got to get through this bit of fun?
Yeah.
And then I promise.
Finally, we can be boring.
We can be the most boring guns in the world.
So Second Civil War crushed by Cromwell.
Yeah.
And at this point, Parliament goes, right, Charlie.
Yeah. Charlie boy.
Come on. Fucking.
Can we
just,
yeah,
please stop?
No one knows why we're fighting.
It's
kind of only your fault.
I don't care. Look, you want to marry the French girlfriend? Marry. I don't care. Fucking we'll just deal with it. We just won't
stop being weird.
We just won't invite her to stuff. It's fine.
Just stop being weird, Charles.
But they basically say this is when they start calling him the man of blood.
Cromwell.
No, Charles. Because they get him to sign something that says you started all this.
Yeah.
We ended it. We beat you, and then you started it again.
Yeah.
So man of blood or blood man, but obviously nowadays we'd say man of blood, person of blood.
Yeah. Well, it's just sort of like a fight with a bouncer with a drunk guy.
Yeah, he keeps coming back,
and then it's like, I promise I'm gonna. He gets restrained.
Yeah, he goes. No.
And as soon as they're let off, he goes. To
and his eyes are looking. He's like, no, I'm done. I don't want to come back in. I'm fine. And then he falls over straight away. So then Charles is in prison, but no one really knows what to do because it's essentially a military coup, and they're like, this is the really fascinating bit, is the trial of Charles I, which they're like, right, we're going to put you on trial.
Which I can't imagine has really happened much ever before.
It never happened before.
Yeah. So this is new ground. No one's really tried a king in this way, where they're about to potentially chop his head off.
Yeah, no one has done this.
Because the French always get credited for this sort of stuff. But we did do it first. We just really didn't. We really regretted it.
Yeah.
So it's not.
But Charles I, he's locked up.
Yeah.
They try him, but he never says. He says the court isn't valid. He's just like, no. Yeah. How do you plead? Well, I don't plead actually because I don't. Who are you? He's all that. And his French girlfriend's just fucking smoking. He just wants to raw dog his hot Latin girlfriend.
Sure.
That's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And watch shit films with her.
And if that's a sin, then chop my head off.
If I'm guilty, then just chop my head off.
All right, well, it is.
Well, it is. Oh, fuck. Okay. Oh, no. So don't do that. Don't do that.
If having a spicy Latina girlfriend's a sin, then chop my head off.
It's a sin. She's not boring enough. But Charles actually becomes a bit of a ledge during the trial.
Yeah.
He's like, it's what's that film? Few Good Men or something, or
yes. Well, you can't handle the truth.
This whole courtroom's out of order. That's what he starts.
Does he start doing that?
Yeah, he brings. He says some cool. Like, get the quotes up, Charlie. He says something. He says some mad stuff during the trial.
I would know by what power I am called hither. I would know by what authority. I mean lawful. Problem is, in this day and age, it was English, but they mix up all the words, so it kind of never makes any sense.
Yeah, I do stand more for the liberty of my people than any here that come to be my pretended judges.
All right, well, less words than that. You went a long way around.
Than any here that come to be my. That's not. You can't speak English, Charles. You can't be king.
We know this one tie, the one bond is the bond of protection that is due from the sovereign.
That's not the voice. This is what's fascinating. The voice will be, all right.
Yeah, that's
because it'll be, I do stand more for the liberty of my people than any here that come to be my pretended judges.
Even the gentlemen.
Because everyone, it's like, because I'm from Oxford, right? Everyone assumes that Oxford's posh, but obviously Oxford, the academics are posh, but an Oxford accent's fucking West Country.
Yeah.
All right, Wiltshire,
all
right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's apples and carrots in
this
the car.
country.
Yeah. And this is what most people spoke like. And actually, the American accent was based off the Pilgrims who went in the 1600s, right?
On the Mayflower. Puritans. So there were Puritans before that when Charles, I think before Charles ascended in 1620. I listened to an incredibly boring podcast about that. Charles of England in a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
That doesn't, Charlie. That doesn't sound right. I feel like he had a West Country.
He also had a slight stutter and a soft voice. So maybe these quotes, they look better written down.
Yeah.
But seeing him go, I only know the liberty of...
I tell you, I'm the martyr of the people.
I'm not suffered to speak.
Yeah. So,
but there was Puritans in America, and they actually sent troops back, the Americans, because they heard... Because they were some of the most boring countries in the world who had actually left England because it was too fun.
Then they set
to
up
go to a new world
and make it even more boring.
Even more boring.
Yeah.
And they heard that there was a civil war going on where the borings were rising up, and they decided to send resources.
Well, this is it, because the royalists they all hang out in Holland, Amsterdam, which makes sense because that's like the funnest place.
Yeah.
So they're just like Charles II, Charles's son. He fucks off to Amsterdam. It's just like
he's complete party boy.
Nailing bongs.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'll wait for all this to blow over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But then
he got pissed, hid up a tree. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, man. He thinks the tree's a house. He tries to check into a hotel, but it's a tree.
So he's completely blazed.
Yeah.
And ends up a tree, and no one can find him.
Fucking hell, man. Yeah.
It's like The Hangover.
No, everyone can see him. It's just like, that guy is gone. He is out of it. There's no point trying to get him.
No, it's like the first Hangover film where everyone's looking for him.
I've not seen The Hangover.
You've not seen The Hangover?
No.
Oh, alas. Well, yeah, one of their friends gets stuck on top of a building, and they're trying to find him because they can't remember anything.
Oh, I see.
That's sort of what it's like.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've skipped ahead a bit. The trial.
Yeah.
We should probably. I tell you what. We'll leave it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know what happens, but this is the other thing that's mad, right? Yeah. Is that it's funny that pubs are named after the things that happened in this.
Yeah.
And you think about a king getting his head chopped off. Spoiler alert. Is for the time it's like it's a paradigm shift.
Right.
It's like you can't just chop his head off. Well, fuck you. That's like, because people still think that the king is sort of godly, and they've seen that
that's mad
tragedy.
Yeah.
That kind of paradigm shifting tragedy.
It's an English 9/11, right?
This is what I mean. It's like calling a pub the second plane.
What, and painted onto a wooden board?
The paint onto one side is the plane going... Or it's like, do you want to go for a quick half down the Boxing Day tsunami?
Yeah.
Like, it's so
awful.
Pub
crawl, do the first plane, then second plane.
Then the Tower 3.
Yeah.
Tower 7.
Then the Pentagon.
Yeah. Then United 93.
Yeah.
Well, that's just some cans on a bench. That pub's closed down.
2008 financial crash. And
7/7. Yeah, anyway.
Well, because as boring as this period is, it's kind of loads of the foundation of everything that this country is now is this period more than ever.
Yes.
Like, our whole parliamentary system is kind of...
And our relationship to the royals our current relationship starts with... We went really far the other way and then went, oh, that's a bit much for me, actually, and pulled it back.
Yeah, so it ended up with the royals not having power, but they were allowed to, fuck around... drink and wear nice clothes. That was the deal. Yeah,
that's the settlement.
We're going to keep boring cunts doing the actual work.
Let boring cunts be boring cunts.
And you can fuck around and wear a hat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's it. So listen, I think we'll pick this up in part 2.
Yeah.
It's obviously too big.
The suspense.
The suspense. What's going to happen? What happens during the trial of Charles I? If you can't wait to hear what happens, part 2 of this is already on our Patreon. You can become a truther, sign up for £3 a month where it's ad-free and you get access to all the episodes.
Yeah. If you wonder, could this get any more boring, it can.
Can I pay money to make this more boring? You can. Become a truther and you get exclusive episodes and all that. Thanks very much for listening. Either way, see you next time.
See you next time.